Hello my friends and welcome, my name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. It happened again. What you may say happened, Dennis? Well, Russian army started their attack in Vuhledar direction and they failed with lots of the losses. Lots of the vehicles, lots of the tanks were captured by Ukrainian army. Awesome. I think for us it's better to go to the 3D map, at least you will see the terrain in this area. So this is Vuhledar. Russia tries to reach this settlement for a very long time, for more than 1 year. As far as I remember, they tried last winter to advance from Pavlivka. Actually, they already occupied Pavlivka village in this place, but they were unsuccessful advancing across those lakes and the river. But now they're actually very close to Vuhledar and they constantly use the aviation bombs to target this small town. So today they crossed this lake or the river in this place and start to advance towards the town and were captured. I have some of the drone images to share with you. Here we go. This is the Russian tank. As you can see, they have some sort of the exhaust or maybe intake pipe on the top, but it didn't help. After the tank was hit, it just went uncontrollably to the local lake that I just showed you on the military map. Quite a unique image, I might say. I haven't seen those kind of in this war. Here hopefully you see the Russian MTLB infantry vehicle and also the tow vehicle. Well, it's not really infantry fighting vehicle, but Russia put everything on top like machine guns, anti-aircraft guns, and sometimes even rocket artillery systems on top of those vehicles. It's just crazy. It shows that Russia is in lack of the proper fighting vehicles like BMPs. They had lots of the losses, that's why they have to use those MTLBs on the fronts for their infantry. Pardon if I am wrong, but it looks like the T-62 tank. Not sure, but looks very similar. Again, it was disabled by Ukrainian drone strike. Probably it's hard to say because the tank looks intact, but the hatches are opened and crew evacuated from it. And there is also lorry or truck, if you are American, KAMAZ, Russian military vehicle, also abandoned and it's not fully destroyed. All of those vehicles are not fully destroyed in this combat, I might say, but somehow Russia just left everything and run away. And here's the source I got the images from. Let's continue with the good news. Let's go to Robotin in the southern part of Ukraine. By the way, President Zelensky visited this place not long time ago, I believe 4 days ago. Well, today Ukraine got some of the ground under control. We have the clarification very close to Robotin. It was yesterday and it is today. Ukrainian army propels towards Novoprokopivka, even though major counteroffensive of Ukraine failed this summer, but Ukraine still has the capability to attack. On the south, it's great because Russia deployed their best forces, elite forces, paratroop divisions in the place near to Novoprokopivka and basically all around this perimeter. So Ukraine have to fight with those forces and still get the ground back. But in general, of course, Russia has superiority over Ukraine, first of all in resources, in human resources, in artillery shells, and now they produce lots of the drones. That is why they're quite effective and Ukraine struggles with support, but we have some of the good news probably about the supplies for Ukraine. I'm gonna mention you the news later on. Now let's focus on Novomikhailivka, where Russia again entered this settlement. So it was yesterday, and this was the day before yesterday, and this was a couple of days ago. Then Russia assaulted towards this village or the small town. Ukraine pushed them back, and today Russia assaulted once again. Mykov Center 3 publishes this map showing the Russian gains in Novomikhailivka. They advance with the infantry again and use lots of the artillery and surveillance drones around. So clearly it was the successful day for them in most of the directions, unfortunately. There's a heavy fighting going for Novomikhailivka. I believe that Ukraine has the capability for defense, but Ukrainian army has to spread all of the resources throughout the front lines. Very big, very long, as you may see, so we are unable now to concentrate all of the resources at the single point to withstand against the Russian attacks. That's why Russia here and there able to find the weak spots in Ukrainian defense and take some certain ground. Because of this feature, they are quite successful in some of the directions. Unfortunately, they also moved in Avdiivka today, expanding this gray area, gray zone. It was yesterday and it is today. They're very close to the road, but let's watch the 3D map right now. So Avdiivka, and I would say that it's time to evacuate Ukrainian forces, or you may say move them out or even retreat the forces. I don't care how it looks or how it sounds. The main thing is to save the lives of our soldiers, for them to be able to fight more for Ukraine. What's the use of the dead people on the front lines? I don't know. Why am I saying that it's time to move the forces out? Because the critical life road or road of life is up to be cut by the Russian forces. On this military map, we do not have the latest update, I would say, but the Russian forces are over here right now, one field away from the road. Let's look at Avdiivka from this perspective. So here's the Russian assault vector, and soon they're gonna cut the road, maybe tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, but it's gonna be very soon. So the only alternate way for Ukraine is to use this sort of road, which connects Avdiivka with Severne village, yes, and later on evacuate the forces. Because now evacuation is already impossible using this road, because as I say to you, Russians are very close, at least according to the deep state military map source. So it's too late to defend this road, unfortunately. Ukraine could potentially use this road also for supplies, but it is very tricky because the part of the road is the field road, basically the ground, which might easily turn to mud in case of the rainy conditions, basically rain that happens a lot during the winter time in Ukraine. So we may have frost today, but very wet and nasty weather tomorrow. Snow also could melt, creating some of the swamps in the fields. In general, the situation for Ukraine in Avdiivka is getting too critical. You see how Russians were able to find a weak spot in Ukrainian defense, and the terrain there is quite complicated. I mean, this area over here, let's go to it more closer. I didn't expect that they would try to use this one for advancement, but they were successful. I mean, you have some of the lakes, you have terrain differential, you have forest, and again, there were no robust defense lines from the Ukrainian side. They were not prepared for this Russian advancement in place, so weak spot for the Russian attack point. Unfortunately, it happens like that in Avdiivka. It's just a matter of time, then Russians occupy it, so it's better, I think, to save our army. Yeah, it's still far off being encircled, but at least heavy equipment should be moved out right now using that field road that I showed you before. If we check out the Mayakovsk 73 source, he is very accurate in his drawing of the military maps. We may see that Russia is definitely a couple of quarters away, maybe a couple of fields, or maybe even one field away from this road with a gas station. This is the entry to the city. With the mark, you are entering Avdiivka, as I said to you before, and Russia is using some of the aviation bombs to target our positions over there. So they're advancing quite fast, but Ukraine still has the infantry in this place, which is fighting against the Russian attack. Let me show you the distance. So between the Russian positions, it's around 4.8 kilometers, I think around 3 miles, so still quite a lot of the distance. But those are just fields, there are some rivers, so sometimes the soil, the ground is not allowing the heavy vehicles to move out. Infantry obviously can go at any point, mostly, but vehicles should be little by little be moved out from Avdiivka, and maybe infantry forces will have some of the backup from artillery, from drones. Well, actually, Ukraine needs to reinforce this direction if it wants to keep it for a longer time. But I'm not the general, I'm not the military expert even, but I would withdraw our forces out. Not to repeat the same mistakes that were done in Bakhmut. Then our forces were fighting in the city itself for a very long time and we had lots of the losses. But you know, Syrskyi is now a general commander of Ukrainian army, and he was responsible for defense of Bakhmut, so probably he'll follow the same scenario here in Avdiivka, protecting the city with all of the available forces for a very, very long time. Unfortunately, here we'll have losses in that scenario. And the Russians also advanced near to Stepova, the village they tried to advance a long time ago. They occupied this part, this forest line. It was yesterday, it is today. Light advancement, but it could be critical for Ukrainian army in defense of Stepova. Why? Because Russia now has two of the assault vectors, at least two of them, one from this side and one from this side. So this one will be also occupied very, very soon, maybe tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, I'm sure about it. Unfortunately, most of that stuff is because Ukraine is in lack of military supplies. But I promise you some of the good news. We have some of the hope that Ukraine will be supplied with the military from the United States. But before we go to it, let me show you the other points of the Russian advancement, because mostly they now have the advancement around near to Chasiv Yar, near to Bakhmut. Russia tries to reach Chasiv Yar. It was the hotspot for Ukrainian supplies. It was a Ukrainian hub to protect the Bakhmut city. Even Prigozhin said that Ukraine is getting ready to reinforce its group and liberate Bakhmut. He was almost sure about it, but Ukraine tried, and this attempt was also not very successful. The 3rd Assault Brigade was successful near to Klishivka, but this northern side completely failed. Unfortunately, Ukraine again doesn't have enough resources, and here we have the Russian advancement. It was yesterday and it is today. Unfortunately, you can see some of the hills out there, and Russia occupied the local forest, and they are not really far from the local settlement, just 2 kilometers away. 1.5 miles, 1.6 miles, it's better to say. Well, really close to this place. And if we move just a little to the south to Klishivka, you may see that Russia also advanced in this direction over here. Before, Ukrainian army was able to push Russian forces out behind this river and some of the lakes, but now Russian forces counterattack again, reaching their previous location. We have reviewed all of the changes for today on the front lines. Now let's go to the other news. This night, Ukraine launched the attack on the oil reservoir located in Krasnodarsky Krai, Kuban, Russia. In this case, just the minor damages to the local oil refinery facility were reported. There was some fire, no casualties, and no hard aftermath, let's say, for this facility. This picture was shared today in internet, in X, in Telegram, and all say that this is the F16, clearly it is, and here's Ukrainian pilots, and the F16 has Ukrainian marks. I also shared this image on my Telegram channel, saying that probably it could be a Photoshop for now. And later on I found a confirmation that it is Photoshop based on the structure of the image and the pixels and compression of the image. So clearly those parts being Photoshopped. I'm sure, almost sure, that it is the Ukrainian pilot, and I'm sure that the airplane stays without any liveries, without any marks, waiting for the paint job. So the image was photoshopped by the plane, and we'll have those planes, I believe, in March. Yes, I was wrong predicting that we'll have them during the winter time, but many experts say that we're gonna obtain F-16s from Netherlands during this March. British media source The Telegraph says that if Ukraine loses Avdiivka, America will be responsible for that. Well, I wouldn't say so. After all, it is a Ukrainian command, after all, it is a Ukrainian army, and our guys already knew that probably there will be a lack in supplies in the future, so the defense should be organized maybe in different way, or the planned withdrawal should be organized in this case. So it's not a critical heavy loss for Ukrainian army. We have lots of the cities around like Avdiivka, and Russia spent several months trying to encircle the city, to encircle Ukrainian army, and still they are not able to achieve their goal for this minute, for this day. So I wouldn't agree with Telegraph that everything is dependent on American help, but lots of stuff dependent on United States. And the Telegraph themselves admitted that the price and the cost of the city is just symbolic. That is what they say. But I think that if you plan the future counterattack, Divka actually plays a great role because it's inside the Russian defense and it's very close to the Donetsk city, so potentially could be used for the Ukrainian army advancement in the future. So from tactical and strategic point of view, Avdiivka has more price compared to Bakhmut, for example. They say that Europe is unable to compensate everything for Ukraine, the military support I mean. Yes, obviously just part of it, and Ukraine will have to lose more ground in case the United States wouldn't agree supporting our country, especially because of the MAGA group, but there will be voting soon in Senate, and separate package will be voted for Ukraine and Israel. One of the Republican congressmen, Turner, that's his surname, says that voting will be successful for the Ukrainian support. Well, we'll see. Maybe it is just voting in Senate and later on the bill will go to the House of Representatives, which is occupied by MAGA group, and the speaker already said that he will not vote for this stuff. So you may not like me if you are a Trump supporter, but I believe that Trump plays in favor of Putin, blocking the support of Ukraine. For sure, it is like that. We have the evidence, but there are some good Republicans, let's say, in the party, and they may propel this project. The only hope lies on them and obviously Democrats. We have a chance, guys. We have a chance. The Telegraph also says that the Ukrainian army complains that they have to ask volunteers to buy some of the drones, FPV drones, and government program is just at the beginning. Zelensky just announced a couple of days ago that government will create this sort of program. Now it's not enough to protect Avdiivka for sure, but volunteers help a lot supporting Ukrainian army for now, but still it's not enough. So even Russia occupies Avdiivka, just imagine their losses. If Ukraine withdraws the forces at the proper time, avoiding the battle in the town itself, in the urban environment, that will increase obviously the losses for both of the sides. But Russia already lost thousands of soldiers and more than 500 tanks out there, I mean general armored vehicles, let's say. So what's the point for them to occupy this small town with those heavy losses? The point is to reach some of the victory before Putin's elections. That's it. The Congress delegation today visited Kiev and met with President Zelensky, and they promised that the new bill will be voted in the United States Senate, but I am not sure about it really, especially if we speak about the House of Representatives. Hopefully they are right. Because, for example, according to this New York Times article, Ukraine has the air defense missiles just till March. After it will be out of the tools to protect Ukraine against the aerial attacks performed by the Russian Federation. By the way, this evening they attacked Kharkiv, hitting one of the hotels and one of the oil depots. Norway already said that it might help with some of the anti-aircraft systems like NASAMS, air defense systems in general, but about Patriot systems, I think only Germany and United States might help. Couple of words about General Zaluzhny or ex-General Zaluzhny. It was done today, this video was filmed today, then President Zelensky honored him with the Golden Star Medal, the Medal of Hero of Ukraine, and also Budanov got the same medal from President Zelensky. So after all, I think it was the peaceful settlement between the president and the Ukrainian army commander. I still don't think that it was the proper way out to dismiss Zaluzhny. I'll miss him personally. He done a lot for Ukraine, and I believe that people will also miss him. You are probably also interested in my reaction on Tucker Carlson's interview with Vladimir Putin. Well, I'm recording the big reaction video. Probably that video will be even blocked by YouTube, but it will be my pure reaction. That's why I'll not post it on this channel. I created the other channel, which thankfully for you has some of the views, so I'm gonna publish my reaction on the interview there as well. The interview is more than 2 hours long, and I've just recorded the first half of the interview so far, so I'll record probably all the night my reaction and publish it during the morning time. We'll see. But for you to understand my general reaction or idea based on this interview, my opinion, let's say. I also shared it on my Telegram channel. I said, from what I see, Putin is living in his own fiction world, and it is really scary. He isn't a crazy grandpa in a subway who shouts left and right about aliens. He is indeed that crazy grandpa, but ruling big nuclear power. I'm not a doctor, but it looks like Putin is psychopath and paranoid about his ideas, which has nothing to do with reality. Let's say it's my general conclusion about the first half of the interview. We'll see how it goes later. I didn't believe that Putin is so far behind the real things that are happening. He has his own mindset. He's so closed person and believes in his own cockroaches in his head, which is, as I say to you, scary. Also, if the purpose of the interview was to show how mighty Putin really is, it completely failed its mission, because we see just a miserable old man who lives in his own world. And this was the face of Tucker Carlson during all of the interview, when he actually realized that he is speaking to psychopath. You know, even though I do not like Mr. Carlson personally, but I may admit that he did everything to liberate Ivan Gershkovich from the Russian prison. He asked Putin for a very long time, "Guy, come on, let him out and we're gonna fly to the United States back together." And Putin was so stupid to say no. He would have so many points in the United States if he would do so, and also Mr. Carlson. It shows again that Putin has no control over reality, I would say. By the way, we have the project of the Russian bulletin for voting in president's elections upcoming in March. So try to guess where is Putin Vladimir Vladimirovich. Yeah, obviously it is here. There is no huge change from the Adolf Hitler's bulletin Ya 9. Here's the video filmed by Ukrainian FPV drone which flies in Donetsk over Donbass arena, the biggest stadium in the eastern side of Ukraine. You can see Donetsk, it's over there. It's not used by the occupation administration, let's say, and it means that the distance for Ukrainian drone was 10 kilometers, just a little more than 10 kilometers. Probably it was used somewhere over there, but it is a good range for the FPV, I might say. Russia continued to lose their BMPs, this time because of the mine near to Divka. Only one BMP was used for this sort of attack. Russia understands that using long convoys is a big mistake. Russia also tested the drone capturing device, simply a net, and they fly over the drone, but it's the very low probability that those kind of the circumstances might occur. Yes, it might happen a couple of times, but to fly a separate drone for this job, I don't think it's real to find the other drone of the enemy for purpose. As for the losses for the last 5 days, Russia lost 237 of the vehicle, Ukraine lost 69 of the armored vehicles, tanks and supply vehicles altogether. We have a long list, and Russia continued to abandon their BMPs and tanks, as I showed you at the very beginning of this video. Then tanks and BMPs were okay, but led by the Russian soldiers. Sometimes Ukraine might trophy those, but in most of the cases they're just caputed with the help of the drones and other stuff. Again, Ukraine loses some of the boats and Russia loses lots of the MTLBs and BMPs as usual, plus tanks. Ukraine continued to use Indian-made artillery shells. We also have artillery shells from Pakistan, by the way. I know that two of those countries do not really like each other, but they are joined in supporting Ukraine. By the way, India says that it doesn't supply those artillery shells to Ukraine, but somehow we have them. One more Shahid drone was downed by Ukrainian defense, and I would say that Ukraine started to use a powerful electronic warfare to disrupt the electronics of the drone. It's like a microwave powerful gun, I would say. Those drones are not small, as you can see, so there is the army man behind, and in the front it has 50 kilograms of the explosives. But Ukraine now works on a jet drone production, so here we see the example of the drone equipped with a jet engine. I'm not sure about the range because jet fuel consumption is very high for the jet engines, so for sure for efficiency it's better to use piston engine as in Shahid, but jet drones have obviously the speed superiority, they are much faster. They're also relatively big and Ukraine promised to have a stable, massive production of those kind of drones. At least we see many of them in the boxes. Russians claim that they've shot down Ukrainian drone that was made in United Kingdom, and they are showing this picture, but it is completely different model, I would say. You may just check it out, it looks like this, and it's total different model. Yes, they look similar, and maybe this one is also produced in UK, but it's not that type of the drone either. Actually, for me it's hard to say what type of the drone is here. It could be Ukrainian made, maybe. It's streamlined, quite beautiful. But what I see here, that Russia is losing their Zona surveillance drones, and we have the proof of it. The manpad probably was used to target the drone, and it was successful targeting, let's say. And here's the falling of the drone. First of all, we saw the image from the thermal camera, and now different image from the different angle with the standard camera. And we have good news from Finland. They will send a new military package for Ukraine, which costs 190 million euros. What is inside that military package is unknown. It's top secret information, which is good. My friends, don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot. And if you want to support this channel, if you have the ability to support my job, you may check some of the links down in the video description below. Special thanks for my Patreon supporters and the sponsors of my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your awesome support. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.